The weather's not too bad right now, eh? Tiro, tiro, kahuanga, wa kore tangata. All that I see are the missing people. Kua ngaro ki te kore, hele o manu anake. They have gone in death, becoming the talk of mana, origins. We did a 2 years research on prostate cancer with the hierarchy, DHB professors. I came up with all this big report. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't read it, so I gave it to my academic cousin. He looked at it and said, hey, there's still gaps, mate. There's still gaps for Māori. So that wasn't that whole research we did. But that wasn't mentioned. But because he could read and I wasn't educated, he was able to tell me.
Generally, Māori health is in dire strait. Dire strait.
The call from the mountain to be collected by the night.
Last 20 years with the census, I've produced these graphs of disparities. Māori are in the highest numbers living in environmental disparities.
The state of Māori health is not what it should be. Māori men are twice as likely to die of prostate cancer as non-Māori men. They're lost to the system.
They are gathered from all places to return to the source.
Orangatu could be literally translated as a healthy stand, but it means more than that. It's about having an erection, maintaining an erection. And some people that really get it absolutely collapse laughing. They think it's so funny. You know, everybody knows the consequences of prostate cancer is impotence. No one wants to be impotent. And so orangatu, in actual fact, being funny is also to inspire men to actually do something about it, to be healthy, get it early, and maintain your virility.
My name is Mauraka Tito Edwards, so I've incorporated my grandfather's name and my father's name. What it means is definiteness. That's been where my life has been going for a number of years now.
Kia ora, te iwi Magnus Mihaka. My awa is Waitoura, my monga is Taranaki. My father, born and raised in Waitoura. I now live in Kirribush, south of Brighton, on the coast.
My name is Sam Michael Smiler, and I come from Gisborne, in the Tairāwhiti district, Ngāti Pro descendant.
The history of our people, the taking of lands, the stealing, the genocides, the truth of it all.
For a walk up the sacred mountain, you look over the landscape and they see all this wonderful forest, all this fantastic farmland, and they think, my ancestors owned this, but now we don't. It was stolen from us, it was confiscated, resulted in demoralisation and despair and poverty. Getting out of the poverty spiral over the generations is not all that easy.
You know, 250 years ago, when they came into our country, we were the healthiest people in the world. So what's happened to us has been introduced to us. Contact with European sickness devastated us big time.
Children were punished and beaten for speaking Māori at school, and that caused a lot of trauma.
You lose your language, so that's part of your culture. Colonisation and the effects of it and the trauma of it is still felt today.
Because of the loss of land, because of the loss of rights, because of the education system. That's hard to change. Absolutely hard. I think the suppression of all our beauty that we had is undermined by the professionals today because they think they know better. All they see is a drunken lot of Māoris. All they see is domestic violence. And those things are quite true. But what they don't see is the beauty that we do have.
1989, I went to university full-time. I was confronted with a huge amount of racism from staff and students. It was pretty terrible, actually. But you just smiled sweetly and carried on.
I came through that whole era. I came through the racial thing, that disrespect, that who are you? You're not wanted, you're like something different, eh? And with the church, same God, but you're coloured, you sit at the back.
Māori men are often very shy, they're very proud. There's sort of a self-fatalism. I know I'm not well, I know something's wrong, but dare I go to the docs to talk to them about it. I don't want my whānau to know, and I'll manage this the best way that I can. Definitely won't go near a wahine, a woman doctor, and it would be hard-pressed to get them into any type of clinical situation.
One of the big things is the D word, for denial. It's these sort of long-standing fears and anxieties. They know they've got some symptoms, but they'll just ignore it, and it's just too far gone.
In Māori terms, we talk about the wairua, or the spirituality of things. You know, there was a part of me that said, yeah, you probably do deserve this, you know, for all the things you've done in your life. I was born here in Otipoti in Dunedin, but I used to travel out to where we are at the moment to see my grandparents, Paua Dick and Wikitoria. I have good memories in the bay here, and some not so good memories too, I suppose. Set of circumstances with alcohol and drugs. I was just sort of ripping and running and not achieving too much. Maybe in my head some sort of notion there was something going on. Going to the toilet frequently and I had a bit of a concern about that. The result of the biopsy was that I had some tumours there. It needed to be treated. Told that I was a candidate for a prostatectomy. Kept it fairly close in with my family, you know, like letting too many people know, having to wear incontinence pads. I said to my wife recently, I said, look, I don't feel whole, you know, and she said, yeah, but, you know, you're whole to me, you know. In the recovery experience of some of the people I've worked with is I'll handle it, I can do it on my own, she'll be right. Doing it on my own or doing it alone, you know, it never worked for me. You know, there was one comment that was made to me, one of the guys that had been diagnosed and said he wouldn't give up his sex life or anything like that. He was just happy to go wherever it was going to take him. So I thought, well, that's a marker, you know, the difference between life and death. And there's too many of us dying. So yeah, enough of that. The Māori worldview is all about taking care of oneself and their family, and there is a connection there. Once I was able to find the spirituality in myself, the wairua, the mana, the ihi, the wehi, those things that I had to reclaim for myself, I am a lot stronger. My current job is in a therapeutic community, working with men who have alcohol and other drug issues, work with youth within our Māori community and men around stopping violence. It was about reclaiming who I was as a Māori man. Like I said, my name is Mauraka, meaning to be more definite about things. That's where my spirituality lies, really, is to be caring of myself.
The general state of Māori health, it's not as good as what we want it to be. It's just not. Kia ora, my name's Teresa and I'm a registered nurse here at Te Kaika Caversham in Dunedin. Māori have a tendency not to engage in services as well as non-Māori, it's just a fact. I have personally experienced institutional racism within another clinic as a patient. You know, I know that it happens.
Well, a perspective happens as soon as you walk into a doctor's room, and it starts right at the desk. So if you have a name like Hera Mahina, which is a gorgeous name, right out the gate they mispronounce that. It does create inequality.
Because sometimes doctors can be confusing. There's different language. Don't understand. They believe the doctor no matter what.
Am I responding in the way that they want me to respond? Then what happens is often people close down. They're not trusting at all. You think, oh no, I don't think I want to do that. I think I'll just carry on and do what I'm doing.
The system is racist, big time. The decisions for us, we've got to do that ourselves. Find some strength in each other. Let us have a say about what kind of journey we have.
I've heard that as you get older, you become less relevant. Well, in the Māori world, it's a little bit the opposite. As you get older, you become more relevant. And that's because of wisdom, time, whakaaro, all of those things.
One thing they tell you is ask the right questions. As we know, most Kiwi men don't ask questions. Ask any woman who takes her husband to the supermarket, he'll go hunting for stuff instead of asking one of the staff, where do I find butter? Where do I look for milk? So they tell you, ask the doctor the right questions. So what are the right questions? I started life as a drafting cadet with the Ministry of Works, went on to private practice. I've designed houses all over New Zealand. Been retired for about 5 years now. To hear about that you've got any kind of cancer is probably, well, it was my greatest fear. I think, well, good God, what did I do to deserve this? And how do I get out of it? Spending time talking to these people, different people, I found out lots of friends, lots of people I knew had a brush with prostate cancer, but never ever spoke about it. And I was really lucky, I believe, to find it so early. We talked to everybody that we could, read everything I could find. We decided between us that radiotherapy, if I was lucky, I'd get through it without any major side effects at all. It meant that I could carry on with my life, golf every morning, friends most afternoons. Hazel, my wife, she was the most important thing in this journey. Not 100% sure I could have made it without her. I think helped Hazel and I through this prostate cancer journey is the fact that we live here. When you see the power of the ocean against the rocks, the waves that roll in continuously day after day, it just points out that we are just minuscule in the universe. So we need to enjoy everything we can. And we go to the deck every morning. We look out over our paradise and we say, thank you for blessing us with this spot and each other, leading what a lot of people would consider to be a good life. Of course, in the back of the mind there's this cancer thing, and that's scary as hell. 2 weeks ago, I had my 6-monthly check-up blood test, and my PSA levels were down to 0.3. I'm beginning to feel much better in myself. You can see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it isn't a train. It's cancer, it's scary, but there is hope.
It's really good to have health advocates with you. If Māori men have wahine or a wife on board, the outcomes are really good. All of us are vulnerable when we're not well. It's often the partner that will fill in a number of the gaps.
The original name of Huntly is Rahui Pōkeka. The Huntly Power Station sits right in our back doorstep. My family's a coal mining background. I was in the coal mines for 25 years, working underground. It wasn't an easy life. That's where I saw the need for Māori health. And it's not easy to face the health professionals because they have all the degrees in the world. And who are you? You're just a coal miner from Huntly. And I say to myself, oh yeah, so...
Youngish men who are still working go into sharing gangs that are diagnosed that choose not to go back to their homes, have no support around them, probably have to travel a day to even get to a clinic, and then be told that you're probably going to wait 2 weeks before an appointment even becomes available. And so therefore they don't follow through with other appointments, or you're late, or all of these sorts of things.
Poorer people have poorer health and have poorer health outcomes.
Once you're diagnosed, the barriers are terrible. How do you actually break down those barriers so that the journey for that Māori man going through the journey of trying to get him healthy is not easy? There's financial issues.
You do feel for the people who don't have insurance or don't have the means to go private. And the difference is huge, because they don't have the money to access what really everyone should actually have as a right, not as a privilege.
You only got 5 minutes in the doctors. You know, you can't talk medical to Māori. How can they explain to you in 5 minutes the kinds of problem that he's going through, because you don't have more than 5 minutes? The key behind change is to give the voice to the clients. That's the key. One of the things I learned growing up was we had to stand. You had to fight. You're not only fighting a system, sometimes your enemy was your own.
I've learned that if you don't stand up for yourself, nobody else is going to. If you persist, you will get somewhere. The man's shed is a place where retired men, if you've got a trade, you like to do things, you like to invent things, build things. Because when I was getting treatment, I wasn't going near the place. I didn't want to see anybody. When I went for the biopsy, I didn't even know what it was going to be about, because I'd never been sick. That's when the story really started. It was a long time, about 9 months, waiting. Because the urology, it was that clogged up that they couldn't keep up. They didn't have enough resources. And my GP said, mate, in short, you've got prostate cancer in a big way. 2017, that's when I was diagnosed. I stayed locked up. I just stayed at home. I wasn't very good company. When they asked me to go to that marae, I thought I was just going for a bit of a trip and just watching them. Then they asked me to help assist them in their haka. I used to haka too when I was young at school. It actually brought back a feeling within myself of sorrow, of what I've missed by not being involved. You need to be a leader in both your voice and your actions. I reckon it's within yourself. It's within yourself. Got that yearning to come back. When I went in the man shed, and 2 days a week, and you got a wee job to do, oh, that's good. They all knew what I had. Talking about it, actually, it just relieves the pressure of yourself. We make a joke of it. And all the women say, oh, you man, I'm worse than woman, you yak, yak, yak. But our yak is recovery. They give me a wee bit of responsibility, and I'm thriving on it. In my mind, in my own mind, I tell myself that I'll beat it. I'm picking what I'm hoping that I won't need any more radiation. Yes, I learned if anything's wrong, go and get it checked out. And telling them exactly the problem, instead of just humming and hawing. No muck around.
The whakawhanaungatanga, connectedness and making those connections with people, it's becoming whānau. You know, I've fallen in love with my patients and we're told we're not allowed to, but you do. That's whakawhanaungatanga, you know, just caring for your patients. Yeah, so make those connections, because how can we help if we don't know who we're dealing with?
The marae, their community, their Maori sports teams, they tend to have better health outcomes, and it's that cultural connectedness that is critical.
When I got my prostate cancer, I got a bit of a shock because, you know, I'm healthy, well, I thought I was. I've just been lucky that I've got a strong family.
Wairoa is imperative in any Māori patient. It's who we are. It's what makes us whole. Without Wairoa, you'll fall. You fall.
The whole movement of Oranga Tū, knowing that this is about health promotion, it's our people that talk to our men about their issues.
The tribe gave me 4 responsibilities: health, education and employment. About 400 staff working for me, all Māori, for Māori, by Māori. We are trying to do our best as health Māori providers, but the majority of our people don't sit with us. The DHBs, the pinnacles of the world, are starting to hire more Māori to provide Māori advice.
1992, there were only 6 Māori providers that had contracts with the DHB, and now there's well over 250. So we're graduating record numbers of Māori health professionals now, because they know how to engage with the whānau, they know how to speak and converse and communicate, and so there's a huge growth in the Māori health workforce, which has made a huge difference.
If we're dying earlier, have a look in the mirror and ask the question, am I doing my job? If they're dying early, why? Ask yourself. We're the best to decide what's best for us. Right across the board, whether it's in the councils, whether it's wherever, we've got to be at the table and we've got to know what the figures are. If you don't have a voice, if Māori men and Māori generally don't say anything about the challenges they face, they're going to continue to fail. They're going to die early. Māori men have got to make a stand.
Ask them where they're from. That's it. What's their tūranga waiwai? And understand who they are. You'll be amazed how much they'll share with you.
Connection is the number one for me in anything.
Me kōrero mai, talk, kōrero mai.
Kia kaha, which is stay strong.
I became a resilient model in my community, working in the health sector as a Māori community health worker. You've got to get yourself checked, mate.
If you have trouble with the old fella and things are starting to hurt or do that, you don't hesitate. You go and get it checked out.
You have to sort of put your personal dignity aside for a moment, and you can get over that. What you're doing is best for you and for your family.
Look at all your options, seek out and go and see for yourself. Really grateful for the support that I've had, even with my troubles, where the medical community.
Do you want to be there for your moko? Do you want to take your daughter up the aisle, you know, at her wedding? Do you want to celebrate your moko, your grandchild's 21st birthday? Do you want to be there for those occasions? That's a very powerful message for a lot of Māori men.
Here's a message for you. Make sure you get checked.
Get there early. If you don't get there early, it's going to be hard. The treatment's going to be long and it's going to be worse. I went in and I did it. And I'm healthy. I like to create being a muser, you know. So the message gets through. I play double bass. So I took my double bass to the workshop. This is Tāne Ora. Boom, he's healthy. dang, all that sort of stuff. Looking at this thing, what's this got to do with prostate cancer? And I said, well, he's a healthy one, man. Can you hear those notes?